Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have an excellent game to share with you. This was played just the other day, 1901. On the white end, Juan Corzo playing against the chess legend Capablanca. All right, we have here an oldie but goodie. Let's see how Capablanca, the chess machine, handles the Vienna Gambit. This here, a clear close relative to the King's Gambit, just played a move later. We have the capture on f4, knight f3, and from here g5. This pawn will not be picked up so easily. White's plan, undermine this structure and go in for a piece sacrifice on f7. Not completely crazy. Evaluation here is about -1. King uncastled, big center nearby for Team White. How does play follow from here? Well, in the game we have d4. This is considered best. I want to touch on two other moves you could easily see here. One is queen takes g4, and the other is bishop c4 with check. What would happen after queen takes g4? Development. If queen takes pawn here, more development. Black will have a lead in development with such a line if white goes collecting the g and f pawns. If bishop c4 check here, that will be met with d5, and there are two punches present there for Team Black. What happens if the bishop gives a check here? This is an important position. Now, in the Lichess database, not specific to Masters, only about half the games have the correct move played in this position. The correct move here is with d5. There are three different ways that pawn can be captured. This is top, though. This expedites Black's development, allows the bishop to secure g4. How would White respond to d5 here? I want to give you a feel for what you can be doing in each case. So let's cover these three briefly. If White captures with the bishop, the king goes to g7. No problems, really, for Black from there. If pawn or knight captures, a simple reply in both cases is knight e5, targeting the bishop. And if it's sticking around opposite the king, check this move out. You ready? f3. You know who's not having such a fun time right now? The white queen. She doesn't even have a square. This discovery is no problem. King g7. This is the big issue. Black is ready to take on g2, hit the rook, open a square for the knight. Queen h4 moves right around the corner. This is a crushing position already for Team Black. Similarly, if the knight in this position takes on d5, knight e5 yet again, and even in this situation, f3 is top, even with any knight move hitting with the discovery. So in other words, even if White goes in for a material grab, this here is crushing. We're ready to land the check. We're ready to go to h4. If you're wondering, this is a -8 eval. Okay, so we have at least now a feel for how the game can continue if bishop check and d5 is played. In this game, it is d4, follow-up is d5, and White from here, move 9, captures on d5, and from that point on, it's a decisive advantage, and it's maintained throughout. What other options does White have here? What is considered best in reply to d5 here? Best is to take on f4. We're going to have a look at bishop takes f4 and knight takes d5 here. So if this best move is played, you can continue to develop. If a punch is thrown to the bishop, there's no longer as much pressure on d5. You can return to e7. You have a threat of your own on h4. Okay, what about knight takes d5 in this position? Development yet again. If the knight moves, queen takes d4 is there. If the knight is maintained with, let's say, c4 or bishop c4, let's check these out. If c4, you can continue to develop. And notice with this line here, black is quite all right, giving the material back. White has absolutely no development here. Black is spoiled for choice. Check, drop a knight in the center, rook here, decisive in all cases. Finally, what happens after knight takes d5, bishop e6, and bishop c4 to secure the knight? Nice little motif here with the 2-on-1 majority, let's call it. And that is to play f3. And after pawn takes, we sneak by here to get a passed pawn. What's really accomplished? What's one of the things that's accomplished with that sequence of pawn moves? The f-file is closed there for white. This king could feel now a bit more secure on the f7 square. No white major piece is going to bother the king with this f3 pawn on board. Nearby, there's g2. Queen takes h4 ideas. Okay, we have a feel for how we can be continuing if knight takes or bishop takes is played here. In this game, the e-file opens up. It's queen e7 from here. In the game, king f2 is played. That is best. Now, what's worst here for white is king d2. That runs straight into mate. Play queen e2, not a good idea, offering a queen exchange down the piece. Knight takes d4 is there straight away. This move here is one I want to draw some attention to, blocking with the bishop. There's a tricky move, or a key move, I should say, black has to come up with a few moves down the road. Now, best from here would be f3, trying to exploit the pin on the bishop. Not the end of the story just yet. Black would have this cute move, castles, unpinning the bishop, and throwing this pawn in a pin. Queen takes h4 would be top. And now, what would you do here as black after bishop takes f3? There's only one winning move here for black. It is not to take the bishop. If you take the bishop, the queen recaptures. There's this strong battery, block with the knight. This knight falls. I'm not going to play it all the way through. Just want to give you a feel, let you know. With best play, we go into a queenless ending. Black is still up the piece, but it is not a full piece. It's considered equal. The winning way for black here is with the following move. Bishop d6, allowing whatever kind of discovery white wants with the bishop. So even if bishop takes g4, the king sits on g7 and is cool right there. There's now a threat on the bishop and the threat of a 3-move checkmate, familiar pattern, bishop h2, g3, queen h2. If queen f3 is played here, just taking it out a hair more, bishop h2 in this case is actually not winning. The winning way, well, if you go in for bishop h2 here and then follow up with the discovery, there is bishop h3. No time to take on h3 because with this battery, there is a mate threat on f7. Winning continuation would be to flick in a check. King f2 would disconnect the battery, and then knight takes d4 would be there. That is winning. Okay, in this game, we do not see the bishop block in this position after the check on the e-file. The king makes a run for it. G3 check, King G1, only winning move now. Give the piece back. Queen takes knight, Queen C5. The queens are coming off. The black queen is poison. Black only needs the strength of a bishop on this diagonal for mate. This is a super valuable pawn. The king has no safe squares. What's white's try from here? Defend the queen. Queen B6 follows. My favorite move of the game. C5, vacant. A pin now right around the corner. Queen takes queen here. We take towards the center. This is still a problem. No time to take on f4 with either piece. Bishop c5 is going to lead to mate. White's try here is with the knight on d4 and pawn on c3. That's the way to tame the bishop. Now, why was that queen b6 move my favorite move? Well, this springs to life the rook, paves the way for this only winning move, rook a4, increasing the pressure on that pinned knight. How do you deal with this? b4 is not going to cut it because there would be rook takes b4. This pawn is overloaded. Pawn takes rook. We're going in for mate. Also, bishop takes f4, looking to swipe this pawn next, giving the king a couple squares. That's not working either because there would be rook takes knight. We just need the bishop to see clearly along this diagonal. What is white's try in this game? Some room is made for the king, but now black wins a pawn, puts the knight on its favorite square, puts the rook on a dream rank with a fork. White's trying to be clever here in the game with a check on h5, saying your knight is pinned. Kappa says, I don't care. Take the exchange. This here is not your Joe average rook, not a 5-pointer. The extra rook that white has, not living the dream. No good squares for that rook. There are plenty of mating ideas for black in a position where a rook is planted on an enemy's second rank. A rook in combination with a pawn and knight, or maybe just a pawn and bishop. Plenty of cases where there is a mate available. So you can only imagine in this position here, where black has the rook, a couple pawns, and a couple of minors, a bishop, right around the corner, ready to enter the scene. Plenty of mating configurations. This here is decisive. A square with this last move. A square has now opened up for the knight. Hops in there to f4. Bishop e5 is played here. What is a way this game can end in mate? Let's say a different move is played here. Sensible looking. Rook to e1, open file. Check this out. Rook can land a couple checks. And now we have bishop to h3. Poison. If rook takes bishop, we would have a checkmate in 2. There you go. That's one example of a mate. And here is a couple others. Let's say white in this position after bishop h3 puts the bishop on e5. There are 2 mate in 2s. Here's one of them. Knight e2, check, rook f1. And you could switch that order. And if I had the choice, I'm going with this one, rook f1, and then knight e2. How pretty is that? King sandwiched between the rooks here. We have all the important squares covered. Okay, in this game, what do we have? The rook does not go to the open file here after knight f4. No rook e1. It's bishop e5. Couple checks by the rook. Careful where you go. King g1, mate. King e1 is played here, and now move 26. Knight d3 with the fork forces white's resignation. Bishop is picked up next. Plenty of ways to continue. Convert that one, grab a pawn, push your passed pawn. Completely winning here for Team Black. So 26 mover, but really this game was over by move 9. What are your thoughts on this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.